Man, this is my first time on this trail. I like it. I think this might be my new favorite trail. Yo, anyway, what's up? Welcome back to Daryl D TV. This is Daryl D, but please call me Daryl. And I'm back with more digging stories, man. I got a good one for y'all today. Today I want to tell you guys about my experience, me finding, discovering, and basically my entire experience thus far with V.I.P Records and Kelvin Anderson, or as I call him, Mr. Kelvin. But in order to tell you that story, I also have to tell you the story of Record Jungle. Now, V.I.P Records is located in Long Beach. Record Jungle is located in LA, or what I'm gonna call LA County. I think it's Montebello, one of them M towns that's like right outside of LA, but it's basically still LA. Forgive me if I'm screwing that up in some kind of way. And the owner is a fella named Andy. Andy, this brother is like a renowned record collector, record dealer, record seller. The guy is incredible, and I'll get into a little more detail in just a second. Now, Andy also is a world famous music producer. He's produced for a lot of your favorite artists, most notably, in my opinion, the Far Side. He does a lot of work with them, and I bought a lot of those Far Side produced records directly from him. His producer name is Spaceboy Boogie X, but I just call him Andy. Anyway, several years ago, I was putting together this little film, this little video, a record digging video. It was called Red Beans and Rice, vinyl documentary. And I was basically just kind of traveling around and getting different footage from different collectors, just a bunch of guys and stores who, you know, love vinyl. And I was visiting LA, and this probably was 2007, 2008, somewhere in there, because I think that video came out in 2009, if I'm not mistaken. I think. Anyway, so I found this store. I don't know how I found out about it, but I went in there, and let me tell you something. Everything in this store was incredible. I mean, if you like just the good stuff, I mean, R&B, soul, funk, rap, breaks, jazz, reggae, Spanish and Chicano music, 45s. If that's your thing, then you definitely want to check out Record Jungle. What I dig about Andy was, the first time I was in there, I told him exactly what I was looking for. He pulled out so much stuff, and he exposed me to so much stuff that I had either been looking for, stuff I had never heard of before. And the most impressive thing is every last single time I would go to California and I would go in this store, he always remembered exactly what I was looking for, down to the T. And he always pulled out stuff that I took home with me. I don't think I've ever spent less than $100 in there. Usually it was closer to the $200-300 range, but I don't think I've ever spent less than 200 or than $100 in there. He's definitely my favorite record dealer ever, just based off of him having the goods and him always knowing what I like. I'm gonna say this. I mean, I feel compelled to tell you guys just how cool this dude is. So I'm gonna tell you this one little story. The V.I.P meet in LA, which that's a whole nother conversation. The best record show on the planet that I've been to, anyway. There was on one particular show out there in Chinatown, there was talk going around that somebody had found like a near mint copy, original pressing of Impeach the President on 45. You know, that was like the chatter amongst the show that day. Yeah, blah, 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 you know. And it turns out that was Andy who had bought that from somebody, I don't know. And he only paid $50 for it. Now this is what I didn't know at the time, is that the record definitely was near mint, but it was it had a small warp in it. And so I don't know, it was probably 3-6 months later, something like that, I ended up being in his shop and found out that it was him who had actually found that 45. And he told me that it was definitely for sale. And he told me that he paid $20 to have somebody, you know, get rid of the warp. And I was like, well, how much, you know, how much is it? Or how much do you want? And he was like, $50. $50? Sold. You understand what I'm saying? So this dude, man, he paid $50, paid another $20 to get rid of the warp, and then sold it to me for $50. So he lost $20 on that deal. And he would often tell me that he just wants to see the right records get into the right hands for a good price. And that's his thing. I mean, if you don't know about him, you need to get to know him and tell him Daryl D sent you. So anyway, there was this later on. This was after this happened, but there was I was in town for the V.I.P meet, and well, let me back up just a little. One of the things, you guys know, I'm a huge mixtape collector, and I've hit some huge, incredible hauls of mixtapes over the years, all around the country. I mean, I've been known to find anywhere from 5 tapes to 500 tapes at a pop. Boom, 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 over and over again over the years. Maybe I'll get into some of those stories. This story, I'm gonna tell you some things that I didn't think I would tell you, but that's a little later on. Anyway, so I'm at the V.I.P meet. Andy's there, and whenever I would be in town, I would always ask him for mixtapes. And I bought a couple, but he didn't really, you know, he didn't really have any whenever I would be in town, but he knew I was looking for them. So anyway, we're at the V.I.P meet. I'm at the V.I.P meet, and I've been there for hours. It's towards the end of the show because it goes from noon to 6, and this was probably around 5. And I had been there since like 8 or 9 that morning. You know, early bird get that worm. So I'm walking around, and all of a sudden somebody grabs me, and I look over, and it's Andy. He was like, follow me. He just like snatched me up. He's like, follow me. So I'm like, all right. So I'm following him. We're going through the crowd. It's like packed. If you ever been to a V.I.P meet when it was in Chinatown, LA, you know what I'm talking about. It was like 10,000 people down there at its peak. It was crazy. It was like a hip hop. It started off as a record show, and it grew into literally a hip hop festival. That's a whole nother story. I'm not even sure. I may have done a video on that, but I have to look and see. If not, then I'll do a V.I.P video. So we're walking through the crowd, and then we get to this one dealer's table. And he just points to the table, and all I see is just massive amounts of mixtapes and some other cassettes. And I realized that table, that vendor, was V.I.P Records. Now, I've told this story to Mr. Kelvin, and I told him I didn't see you. I don't remember seeing you there. But he was like, yeah, I was definitely there. But I don't know, maybe he was busy with a customer, or maybe he stepped away for a minute. But there was this one dude who was there. I didn't know who he was at the time, but later on I found out his name is Beefy Loke, who's basically, you know, family to the V.I.P family. And so I was just like, I'm looking at these tapes. He's like, what's good? And I'm like, yo, man. I'm like, how much? Just tell me how much. So he gives me a real reasonable price. And then I just start going ham. Real cool brother, man. He's helping me out. He's grabbing stuff for me. Man, if I remember correctly, I think I bought like maybe 50, 60 tapes right then on the spot. So he tells me, he says, Beefy Loke says, you know, after I pay him, he was like, come to the shop, man. He was like, I got a ton of this at the shop. He was like, anything you want, man, anything you want. And he gives me a price, an unbelievable price. And I'm just like, man, I'm from Phoenix, man. I'm getting ready to leave and drive back home, you know, right after the show is done. I said, but when I come back, you know, you're going to be my first stop. And I was like, man, I couldn't even, you know, I planned on, I used to hate missing a V.I.P meet. So I made 90% of those shows. And I knew I would be back in 3 months. So I knew 3 months I'm back in Cali to, you know, to do my thing. Because whenever I would go, the V.I.P meet was every 3 months. And whenever I would go, I would always leave Thursday after work. I would take off Friday, and I would take off Monday. So I would leave Thursday night. I would either go to Redlands and hang out with my cousin for all of Friday, and later on I would go to I would hang out with my cousin Ronnie in Redlands, and then later on I would go to San Diego and hang out with my homie Rob all of Friday. Then early Saturday morning I would drive into LA, and I would just hit as many record stores as I could. I would just hit as many as I could. Later on, I would just go to Record Jungle and maybe one other place, you know. And then later on, after I started going to VIP, I would just go to VIP, Record Jungle, and, you know, maybe I would hit Amoeba because they were open late. But that was my routine for Saturday. And I know I'm leaving something out about that. Oh, before I was even going to B-Swap meet, am I saying that right? No, in them early days, there was a record store called Records LA. This dude named Scott used to own that. And then at the time, he had the best record shop in LA, hands down, period. He was from Detroit. He knew his vinyl. His store was crazy. Anyway, and you can see some of that footage in the documentary, the Red Beans and Rice. Anyway, back to VIP. Now, I had known about VIP like everybody else from the Snoop Dogg video. But that's the only thing that I had ever heard about VIP. I didn't know that they were still open. And later on, I found out that in the past, there was like a dozen stores all around LA and Orange County, all around California. So there was a chain, and I guess the Anderson family was running all of them. And I believe Cletus, rest in peace, Cletus Anderson, Kelvin's older brother, I believe that was his, you know, his business, or he was like the front man, or, you know, the guy that is the reason why VIP existed. Anyway, so when I found out that they were still open for business, that was pretty crazy. So my first visit there, when I went back, and Beefy Loke was there, I met Mr. Kelvin. I was telling him about my the video and stuff that I was doing, and he let me was that first trip? I can't remember if that was that first trip or if it was another one, but he always lets me take footage. And man, when I tell you that I found so many tapes, I think I spent on that first trip, I think I spent $400 something, mostly on cassettes. And most of those cassettes were mixtapes, like California mixtapes. And they were like dead stock. They were, some of them, a lot of them were sealed. If they weren't sealed, they were in, you know, mint condition, near mint condition. And I ain't gonna lie, I went crazy. I went nuts. You know, them next like 5, 6 visits, I went crazy, man. I went crazy. Yeah, I got a little problem. Anyway, I had bought so many mix, and it was hard to like tell what I had bought and what I didn't, because it was so many of them. And then come to find out, I had man, when I finally started organizing some of that stuff, come to find out I had like 2, 3, 4 copies of some of them tapes. Some of them I gave away, some of them I tried to get my money back with, and then I gave a lot of them away, but I don't have as many as I used to have because of that, but I do think it's time for a re-up. I can't wait to get back out there. Anyway, so Kelvin, I believe, saw that I was really interested in these tapes, and you know, I wasn't afraid to spend some money in there. And I had already grabbed, I went through all of the tapes in the store, and I had already grabbed, like, man, I went through all them tapes in that store. And so he was like, all right, that's what's up. So then he lets me in his back room where all of, you know, just all of this back stock was back there. And I'm telling you, we're talking about thousands and thousands of tapes, thousands and thousands of records, thousands upon thousands of CDs, plus all of the other things that you would find in a record store, whether they be posters, any type of music, memorabilia. There was everything. Everything was in there, and he invited me back there, showed me everything, and said, you know, go nuts. It was like, you ever seen that movie Scratch? You know what I'm saying? The DJ movie. You know that scene where DJ Shadow, he goes in the basement of that one record store and there's just mountains and mountains of records. That's how it was in a back room of V.I.P Records. He just let me go back there, and I just was like, wow, looking at this humongous room full of everything a music digger could ask for. And man, I went nuts in there. Yeah, like I said, I spent about $460 in there, and I felt like of all of the stuff I was grabbing, I was like, okay, I think this is enough. This is all I didn't know how much the stuff was when I was grabbing it, but it felt like, okay, that's enough. You know what I mean? Your wallet probably ain't gonna like that. And sure enough, yeah, I was definitely had reached my limit. So 400, almost $500 on that first trip, and I was happy. I was happy about the entire purchase. It was perfect. So every time I would come to California for the Beat Swap meet, when I would pull in town that Saturday morning, I would always call, before I left Phoenix, I would always call Mr. Kelvin and tell him, hey, I'm gonna be in town. You gonna be around? Yeah, I'm gonna be around. Come through. Man, this guy, he's like the nicest. He's the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. Just real modest, and he's got stories, man. He's got stories, man, about if anything that happened within the West Coast music scene from like the 70s all the way till now. He's up on it. His store, he's kind of turned it into, you know, like a museum, like a V.I.P Anderson Family and Music Museum. And some of the things you'll see if you go there right now is you will see a lot of pictures with him with some of the most famous people, you know, Dynasty, Odyssey, Commodores, Rick James, Michael Jackson, or actually the whole Jackson family, Slave. Like, the guy's been around everybody. He's been to Michael Jackson's crib. He's been to Prince's crib. Like, when you go in there, ask him, Miss Kelvin, tell me about the time you were at this video shoot, or tell me about the time you were at this listening party of whoever it is. I saw so much crazy memorabilia up in there, and he's got stories for days, and he don't mind sharing them with you. So just ask him. Daryl D told me to ask you about that time, or what can you tell me about this era, this year, this rapper, you know what I'm saying, from LA or Long Beach or any, you know, that region. And on top of that, I've been in this store several times where one of these Long Beach rappers came into the store while I was in there digging. Hey, what's up, Kelvin? Blah, blah, blah. Chop it up about whatever. You know what I'm saying? He's a great guy. So I've been there many, many times. They don't really do the Beat Swap meet like they used to. Not as frequently as they used to. Nowadays, it's like every once in a blue moon. But and then they don't do it in Chinatown anymore. So I don't get to California as much as I'd like to. Um, because like I said, I turned it into a whole long weekend type of thing. But yeah, that's my story, man, about Kelvin Anderson, aka Mr. Kelvin, the owner of V.I.P Records in Long Beach, California. And for years, I didn't say nothing to nobody because that was like my secret digging spot, or one of my secret digging spots. And I used to, you know, spend money. Well, I still do. Spend money up in there, man. I wasn't telling nobody about that place. But I don't know, it's probably a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And he and some of his people up in there, they say, all right, now don't forget to, if you're on social media, you know, basically show some love or whatever. And I'm not a big social media person. I'm on Instagram, but that's it. And since he's been so kind and generous to me, I was like, all right, well, if he say put it out there, then I'm putting it out there. And so I started posting stuff on my Instagram about V.I.P and records. And I actually did another video with me and a couple of digging buddies of mine, DJ digging homies, Mars One and DJ Star Groove. How you doing? Big ups to the Funk Freaks and the Phoenix Funketos. I've taken them. I've sent people there, homies, digging homies from all over the country. You gonna be in Cali? Go over to Long Beach. Go to V.I.P. Tell them Daryl D sent you. So I've been spreading the love. It's not a secret anymore. And this video is just an extension of me showing Mr. Kelvin some love. And I hope that if you guys are in the area, you stop in. He's got mad t-shirts up in there. Mad old school music. If you're into, old school jazz, R&B, funk, and rap, that's your place. All that West Coast stuff, that's your place. Plus, you get to visit the museum right inside of the store. So, make sure when you go there, you tell them Daryl D sent you. All right? And that's my digging story for this round. Thank y'all for hanging out with me for almost a half an hour. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate it. All right? Why don't some of you tell me about your favorite record stores? I'd love to hear from you. Y'all be safe. Take it easy. Daryl D signing off. Peace and love.